We have Marco in here, we have Vera in here, and we have Meki in here. We do dearly miss from our next talk, Nico, who's an awesome partner of Thoughtworks, but today he's on sick leave. He tried, but he couldn't make it. They were on a very difficult and long mission together. And so we wish Nico dearly a speedy recovery so they can go on together. And now I believe the three of our group here will embrace and explore uncertainty in that talk for us. And let's see where they get us to. Floor is yours.
Thank you. Yes. Thank you.
Let me just quickly share my screen. I hope you can see it.
Yes, perfect, Meki.
Nice. Then take it away, Vera.
All right. So thank you for the kind introduction, Tobias, and also thank you for introducing us a little, Alexander. That was a very inspiring talk. So with this, we want to welcome you to our talk, which is called Embracing Uncertainty with Radical Honesty. And it's really good to see all of you. Welcome again also from our side. So Marco, do you want to get us started?
To be honest, actually, no. I was thinking about our talk and I'm not in the right mood right now. And as you know, I'm not a big fan of the title and have questions regarding the content. It's still under my expectations. And if you ask me, I better want to leave because the other YConf talks were not inspiring at all. So no, don't count on me. See you.
Marco, that's super embarrassing. What are you talking about? That's terrible. Everybody is watching. So when we talk about radical honesty today, this is not what we mean. We do not advise you to speak your mind, no matter what the consequences are or your intentions, no matter what the situation requires. Would we want to start a talk like this? Probably not, honestly not. That would be a very stupid idea, and I guess you'd leave the call right away. So what we do mean with radical honesty is something that we will talk about today. And Marco, who is not in such a bad mood after all, he will share more about that. But before we dive in, let me introduce ourselves. We are Meki, Marco, and Vera, as Toby mentioned. We were 4, but the cold has gotten to us, and unfortunately, our colleague Nico is not able to join us due to illness. But what is to say about us? We are actually nice people, and we also actually get along well. All of us inherit very different roles and backgrounds, but we believe in honesty, and we have been on an exciting journey together earlier this year that we think is worth sharing. And with that, now to you, Marco.
Many thanks, Vera, for your kind transition. As we said, we get along with each other quite well, and it would be probably pretty difficult to get some great work done if we would be radical honest with each other without thinking about our intentions and the consequences first. So what about radical honesty? Think about what would happen to your relationships if you would be radical honest with family, friends, colleagues all the time. You will probably instantly share anything that's on your mind, react impulsively to situations that you don't agree to. And that would mean that you probably would end up very isolated and have a lonely life. This is what we don't mean and don't want to achieve. Or another situation, imagine you would be honestly open yourself to an individual or a group, and these people would use your openness against you and thus treat you badly. You probably would stop being honest to others for quite some time. But there is a group of people that don't care about that type of thinking this much, talking about kids. Let me give you a personal example that I experienced a few years ago. I'm a father of 2 lovely kids, and we were on vacation on Mallorca. Kids went to the kids club around afternoon, and they came back, and we were all sitting in a cafe. The kids' sports teacher came by, and we had a chat about the activities she did with her kids in the morning. And all of a sudden, the little one joined the conversation and asked a really interesting question. He said, "Hey, I have a question for you. How can it be that you are so fat even though you exercise all day long?" For a moment, I can guarantee you there was silence, a very long moment. But the teacher's reaction was not what I expected. She looked into Justus' eyes, that's his name, and told him that this is a really good question, and she thinks about it as well sometimes. It's probably she enjoys cooking, and, well, most importantly, all bodies look different. That was really important. What a relief. The teacher could have been offended, but she decided not to. Why? Well, because she knew that the little one didn't have any bad intentions. He was just sharing his observations with her and wanted to hear her opinion about that. So what does how does this example relate to radical honesty in our talk? Being radical honest doesn't mean telling everyone your opinion straight away, unfiltered. It's about being radical honest with yourself first and not hiding behind a wall or a curtain of excuses. It's not about suppressing your feelings and pretending that everything is fine, even if it's not. We should ask ourselves once in a while how honest we really are to ourselves, because this honesty doesn't mean that we only talk about people lying. It's also about the things we intentionally keep to ourselves, or we say yes to situations when we actually mean no. Let me give you another example. Imagine a situation you might have experienced with a colleague who let you down in a challenging situation and you had to deal with everything by yourself. I guess most of you know what I'm talking about. You know, carry this disappointment around with you for weeks and you realize, wow, that's not helping our relationship at all. One day you give yourself a push and confront your colleague and have an open conversation with him about your thoughts and feelings in a relaxed moment. You are surprised by the positive reaction because he can understand your criticism. Both feeling relieved because you have given him the chance to explain his behavior, and together you think how you could do better in the future. So what can we take away from this example? The big challenge is not the actual conversation itself. It's in finding the courage to bring up the topic. It sounds so easy on paper and looks so easy on paper, but in reality, it's a different thing. Now, I would like to hand over to Vera to tell us more about the environment in which we had to find the courage to be radical honest. Vera?
Thank you, Marco, for giving this introduction to honesty. Yeah, so what's the context in which the topic of honesty gains such importance for us? I want to give you a brief intro into the product that we were working on. So to keep it relatively short, when we met, we were creating and maintaining an application. This application is the central sales platform that salespeople in Germany use daily to sell Mercedes-Benz passenger cars and vans. What does that actually look like in practice? So if any of you has the intention to buy a new Mercedes car, here in Germany, you go to a dealership and you will meet a friendly sales rep who will, for example, help you configure a car. And so Germans have a thing about configuring cars, and they will show you possible configurations like, I don't know, like, do you want a sunroof or do you not want a sunroof? They might advise you on certain features that you might require for your car, like do you have kids, do you need special seats, etc. And they will make you an offer for this car that you have configured, and when you're happy with the price, they will order the car for you. So this is an example situation in which they use our product that we are working on. So for offering and ordering cars and vans to the customer in Germany. And we have a lot of product experts here. So from a product and domain perspective, this means our teams have worked on different services, such as retailers and their setup, the main function of offering and ordering, but also, for instance, like financing a car. And to this point, these domains would work rather independent. So of course, you need to ensure that the user journey, you know, from configuring a car to ordering it works without any hiccups. But other than that, we could quite autonomously work on our milestones, such as like our main goal at that time was to replace the legacy system that ran in parallel for a while. And so we were quite a great project at the time. Like we worked with 4 teams on 2 different continents, in Europe and in India, in delivering working software. And we tried to keep the delivery process as lean as possible. So keeping the agile principles in mind, people over processes, but also like the others when continuously improving our build, measure, learn cycles. And between those 4 teams, it was like the close collaboration and communication, and when dependencies appeared was possible. And also the dependencies to other systems were manageable, and we did not have to adapt much to long release cycles of external teams, like when they work in a different working mode, for instance. Also, we focused on value for prioritizing new work, and we could speak to our users, like the sales reps, whenever necessary, building new features. We are in a corporate context, so of course we also had external stakeholders, but they were a little involved in our ways of building the product. Quite a comfortable situation. So in that way, we became some kind of a unicorn in the Mercedes tech universe. We continuously delivered valuable software to the users. We continuously collected their feedback and improved where needed. We had regular showcases where everybody could participate who was interested, or we shared honestly of what we achieved and when things did not go as planned, because that's also what happens in large projects. And while doing so, we were in control of our priorities, our scope, and our backlog. And due to the success of the point of sale system and the software delivery process that we followed, our product and the team was chosen to be an integral part of a massive transformation process to a new business model in Mercedes-Benz. And this process required our product to change and expand its functionality, not only for Germany, but for Europe. And if you listen to this story so far, of course, this development, it's an honor and a success story. It is for us, but as also every one of you know who has had a promotion before, with great power comes great responsibility. It sounds a bit like a phrase. Alex also said that in his previous talk, but that's how it is. And so with that, our project moved from being a rather independent entity to the center of the sales process and the system landscape that Mercedes-Benz wants to unify. And handing over to you, Meki, to speak more about those challenges.
Thank you, Vera. So I think, as Vera said, it was a huge chance for us, which on the other side of the coin led to quite a number of challenges, starting with the obvious one, scaling. So we grew basically overnight from 4 to 10 teams across 3 continents and an increasing number of stakeholders around us to get ready, not only on product level, but also on an organizational one. Second, the field of tension that you saw before, which we confidently maneuvered in the realm of retail, offering, ordering, and financing vehicles, increased significantly, and there were more and more areas we needed to tackle, so a much bigger scope to cover to ensure this transformation, which logically also led to point 3, growing dependencies. So we had an interdependent relationship to numerous external systems, their release cycles and their stakeholders, as well as data sources. We were faced with new open questions such as, who's owning which part and maintaining which data sources, etc. And being nestled in this environment, we were sort of in the danger of falling in this tightly managed waterfall ways of working. And the biggest pain, being set in the strategic transformation process with a tight deadline, we were faced with the classic problem. So our stakeholders fell back into an all or nothing mentality in which the product is seemingly not usable until everything is completely done and polished. So there is pressure coming from all sides and everything seemed to be important. To paint a picture here, imagine around 15 stakeholders of different subproducts sitting in a room and discussing an extensively long demand list, and everyone insisting that all topics have the highest priority and no proper framework on how to prioritize these demands. To sum it up, we were working in a highly complex system with many dependencies in a set transformational strategy, pressure coming from everywhere, an overwhelming scope that everyone around us was focusing more on output than actual business outcomes. And imagine how everyone is feeling looking at that image here. We were in a highly uncertain situation, which also restricted us to talk to our users when they were the one kind of people that could have helped us get a clear sight and tell us what actually mattered. Until this point, getting user feedback was prohibited or legally constrained in this initiative due to the high stakes we were in. So we were not able to talk to the salespeople, the ones who actually use the product on a daily basis. So there we were in a highly uncertain situation and high stakes to risk. The change started with some of us taking a moment and acknowledging the challenge individually, being honest to themselves, saying, if we continue with this working mode, we'll be far from reaching our goals, which led to being honest with each other, building a task force. The goal of the task force was there to prepare and to change the situation and share honestly the problem that we saw with our team and our stakeholders, even if it might be a bit uncomfortable. So we invited everyone literally to drop their pen and face our challenge together. And a key thing here, the intention was not to make anyone miserable or do any finger pointing. It was about owning the problem as a team and acting instead of reacting. So we wanted to bring in all diverse perspectives and collaborate closely on a re-scoped solution, less from above and more on eye level. And maybe you might guess it, the final step we saw was to involve our users, getting their honest feedback, if we're in the right direction, even when it might be uncomfortable or even scary. So this might all sound a bit vague and not clear, hence the question, what did we basically do?
Yeah, thanks, Meki. What did we do? So Meki spoke about this task force of ours. Nico, Marco, Meki, and I were part of it, also some more people. Once we founded it, we were highly motivated to turn things around. And we felt like being truly honest required us to put a break on our daily business. And also what we thought is that this requires humans to sit together and actually sit together in a room, like look each other in the eyes. And if we agreed that we were facing a tough challenge, that's the first step, right? Then we can use our collective intelligence to come up with ideas for a solution. And so in a very short time frame, our task force planned and conducted an ideation workshop, which we called the Delivery Hackathon. And we created a massive digital collaboration board with a variety of exercises. And we invited different stakeholders like external vendors, our product experts, our product owners, And then in some, it was around 40 people, I think. And to remind you, we were working across 3 continents. So obviously, this event needed to be hybrid, meaning that we had to find a setup in which people could collaborate face-to-face as well as across cameras. Like we used a stage, a multi-camera Zoom board, different actual and digital rooms. And we started this event by being radically honest. So we started by addressing the challenge that this group were facing, that we would have to find a better way to handle this incredibly large list of high priority topics that Meki spoke about, that we would have to find a way to de-scope and refocus our backlog, then that we needed all their ideas, viewpoints, and creativity to get there. This is not a task for 4 people alone. And we shared our hypothesis that we do not need to build a product with all functionalities that the stakeholder asked us to build, but even, or actually, especially in this high-stake environment, we can and should iterate and start with an MVP that covers the essential functionalities first, and we can keep the business running. This was not a new idea in our project itself, but for some people, practicing that outside of the team was a little harder. So it helped immensely to align on this common goal. And even though some might have been skeptical at first, we built cross-functional groups. So we really put very diverse people in little teams, and they worked diligently to find new ideas. And we explicitly asked them to think wild and not filter the ideas at first, and that the groups decide which ideas they like best. And of course, like being in a facilitating mode, that's always a bit stressful, but I have to admit, I really had fun, and also the outcome was amazing. So we came up with more than 70 ideas in 2 days. And the participants, our stakeholders, left the workshops with alternatives in mind. And they seemed also to be happy with the outcome themselves. So we took a look back on the mural board that we used to see some feedback that they actually put down there. I want to read a few. So one said, I like the positive energy and the open-mindedness of all different teams and the backgrounds towards the user journey. Or I liked that we are embracing the idea of radical de-scoping. Or they learned or took with them that collaborating with third parties is important, and that they actually would like more workshops like this to align on the processes. So to sum up, the stakeholders seem to enjoy and also value this approach, which motivated us, of course, also to go on. So an outcome of these 2 days, our first action as a task force, these 2 days, was that we aligned on a basic alternative solution to our challenge that we could refine and reshape together. And now, as the product people know, the only people that can validate product people's ideas or this hypothesis that we put out are the people that actually keep the car selling business running, our users, the sales reps. And with that, handing over to you, Quizmaster Meki.
Thank you. So before we continue, we're curious, how do you think our idea of talking to the users and validating our hypothesis with them, how was it perceived by our stakeholders and management? So imagine we had a few click dummies in support of our ideas, nothing tested or polished, and the users had only a limited understanding of what could happen to their sales system. We have 4 options. I hope that you will see soon in Swapcard. Option 1, they thought we lost our minds. Option 2, they thought it was a waste of time. Option 3, they were skeptical first, but reluctantly bought into the idea. And the last one, everyone maybe just loved the idea. What do you think? Just answer by your gut feeling.
As we can see, some people think we lost our minds. but they're changing actually while I talk. The winner might maybe, they were skeptical first, but reluctantly bought into the idea. That's good, because this is what happened afterwards. Happy to continue. So when we talk about hypothesis, we have to think about, like Vera said, validating these assumptions with the designated target group. So we said, yeah, we have to talk to users and we have to do some design prototype testing with them. It's not about the polished, finished product. It's about finding the right approach in the right moment, our pathfinder, so to say. So what did we do next? Do you remember the little onion graphic Meki showed us a few minutes ago? It showed our approach, how we started tackling the challenge by building our small task force first, and then including our team, stakeholders, and other users step by step. By the way, it's a great song you should listen to again. It's from New Kids on the Block. Why I'm saying this, we were listening to this song in the first first few months, and that helped us a lot dealing with the tough situation we were in. So then we made the bold decision, okay, let's just invite everyone. What does it mean, everyone? Sales reps, stakeholders, including management level, people from other Mercedes-Benz products that rely on our product, and even folks from the dealer association. We invited them to a, again, 2-day in-person working session. And we want to get the most important question answered. Can sales rep sell a vehicle, well, probably more vehicles, with our approach in 2023. To be honest, we were pretty excited upfront because we just didn't know how an event of this kind would turn out. Would we get honest feedback from our users when so many people from other areas are basically watching above our shoulders and doing testing? How will the tension be in the room? Because we had so many different people from different units and even third parties in the room that we couldn't think, okay, what will happen if we do it? The good thing is it went all fine and it was a success. We collected valuable feedback from our sales reps, the most important target group on that day during user testing. Our attendees, the rest, participated in group discussions and shared their feedback and views and experience in these sessions. Then we had, as usual, lovely, lively side talks between sessions and during lunch, and we were able to create a really pleasant atmosphere for everyone. Overall, we were and we are still very pleased with the outcome. Why? The tension was just right, as I said, and the envisioned answer has been answered positively. And we received great feedback on our thank you all. Let me share just a few quick examples. One sales rep approached us and said, well, it's been a long time since I've received such an appreciation. It's great that sales reps are finally involved in the process. And most importantly, it was a great exchange amongst each participant. And that is something we wanted to achieve, and we're really happy that it went out this way. So next, when we talk about honesty, let us be honest to you, Vera.
Yeah, thank you. So too much praise to ours, no, but we had been radically honest and we had been able to start a mindset shift. That's what we were aiming for. And yes, we have gotten good results with a large and diverse group to tackle our challenge differently than we had tried before. But it is still a very hard challenge, and people need to have a lot of trust to endure uncertainty over a long period of time. I think this is just how we are woven as humans. And the momentum and the motivational boost that you can create by taking this time off your daily business and being honest with yourselves and each other, that wears off after some time. Also, generally, sometimes people do not want to hear your honest feedback, and it is not always the case that people want to hear that their plans don't work out. And building that mindset of failing and learning, that takes time and the willingness to take a risk. So being in a team that supports each other with creative ideas to keep going when there is some pushback, that helps a lot. We're almost done. So coming back to the beginning of our talk, What did we learn about being honest with ourselves and each other? And maybe also some pieces of advice that we can give to you if you want to or have to face a similar challenge. We learn about the importance of transparency across all levels. That means that it is very crucial to create a common understanding, because like each of us has their own image in mind. So if you align in a small team first, maybe, and then share with others, challenge this understanding with others, that helps a lot. It also means to embrace this failure mentality. And I think one thing how to do this well is like by being the vulnerable ones first and making the first step. And sometimes saying maybe, you know, also like, we were wrong here, you know, and like our plan doesn't work out as planned. It also means like sharing ideas with your most crucial stakeholders. And this can be different on every account, but like maybe it's the user, you know, as in this case, and it helps you to eliminate a crucial risk, you know, that your product isn't usable. And I think that should be always the North Star for building products. Also, what we learned is take some time and meet in person if possible. It really, really does make a difference to sometimes like speak to each other face to face. However, that does not mean that people who cannot come to whatever reason to your in-person event, that they are left out. So make sure that you also include people in the process that are from a different city, country, whatever. And also experiment and learn how to do hybrid. And I think this is a challenge we all face in those all remote times. It's not easy. You have to, I don't know, try out some technology, and some stuff will go wrong. Sometimes we couldn't hear people. Sometimes people in India couldn't hear us. That's what happens, but that's okay. And you learn on the way. Second last aspect is that it's super important to show appreciation and respect, to communicate on eye level, like we did, for instance, in those little teams in the workshops, and like build like non-hierarchical, cross-functional little teams for a while. Forget about hierarchies for a moment, you know, put a project lead together in a group with a product manager and a business analyst and let them find ideas together. It works wonders. And also people learn that all ideas can be equally valuable. We need to work together to find solutions for highly complex topics. That's nothing you can do just from one group of people. And last but not least, the magic happens when you work as a team. And in our case, that means, and it's a pity that Nico isn't here, but that's how it is sometimes, that especially in preparing those workshops and user sessions, we did not work as supplier and client, but as a team. And we also on an eye level supported and questioned each other. With that, Marco, do you want to conclude?
Yes, let's wrap it up. So we learned a lot today, but we would like to place a nice little picture into your hands before we leave for a little break and watch the other talks for sure. So let's picture a balloon, the one you see on the screen here. And now we are putting it underwater and want to keep it there. Next, we assume that the air in the balloon represents the state of our product or service. As long as everything runs smoothly, the pressure in the balloon remains the same and everything is fine and no one is worried. But what happens when the pressure increases due to, for example, dissatisfaction, challenges, frustration, spontaneous demands, or missed deadlines? It becomes harder to keep it underwater because pressure is increasing. To stay in control, we need more and more people to keep the balloon underwater and spend more time just dealing with that, forgetting about the outcomes we want to achieve. And if at some point the pressure becomes too high, the balloon will burst and then we end up having a really big problem. This can be avoided by communicating and acting with radical honesty. The goal is not to let air out of the balloon completely, because then it would float flat on the surface. This wouldn't be good either. So radical honesty helps us to release the pressure in a controlled way and to create more visibility and openness about challenges the teams are facing. Practicing radical honesty is still our secret sauce, and it empowers, motivates, and gives us the courage to continue our journey. And sadly, this is the end of our talk, and thanks a lot for your attention. And of course, we're looking forward to your honest thoughts and feedback.
Thank you so much, Meki, Vera, Marco. It was a pleasure and it was really great. I like the image with that you concluded. I do want to give folks a short break, but those who are highly interested, there are already questions around the workshop format and how it's designed and enabled. You take it in the swap card chat, that would be really great. Connect to each other. I believe there's a lot to deep dive and share experiences. That's the spirit of this.